Is a dose larger than a microdose sometimes okay? We're going to talk about that right now. Hey there, how are you? Dr. Dave. This is Microdose U, and something I just figured out. I am sitting in a coffee shop here in Salt Lake City, and I've realized that we're going to have background music in today's episode. Enjoy the music in the background as I'm sharing my thoughts with you on the possibility of larger doses. So this is Microdose U, and obviously in this series I pretty much talk about microdosing. But a lot of people ask me, is it okay to take a larger dose sometimes? And if so, when, how often, how much should I take? And the answer really varies. It's all over the place. But I will share since you asked, I'll share an interesting story that happened to me just yesterday. So I'm in a place, I can't remember, but sometime around noon or 1 p.m., I just, don't even ask me why, but I was just in the mood to take a bite off of a regular dried mushroom. It wasn't ground up, it was just a regular dried mushroom. I took a little bite off of the cap. Now, I didn't have a scale with me, I didn't measure anything, I really had no idea, although I thought it was probably a microdose because it was just like a tiny little bite. Didn't think much of it. I've been microdosing for a year and a half. I pretty much know how it feels, and I can get on with my day, and it doesn't bother me. It doesn't get in the way of anything. So probably about, let's say this is about noon. Probably about in the 3 to 4 p.m. range. It's like 3 to 4 hours later. I hope somebody can explain this to me because I might not even have an explanation. 3 to 4 hours later, I felt this state coming on, this like dreamy, like trancey state coming on. Wasn't bad, wasn't scary, I didn't feel intoxicated in any way. As a matter of fact, I could just get on with my day, and I did have some work I was doing. I was recording another video for something else. I had to do some driving. That was all totally fine, although I did feel like a little bit of, I don't know if like brain fog would be the right description, but like I was in a dreamy like state that I felt like I wasn't on top of my game. I couldn't, if you gave me like a complex math problem, I probably would not have been able to come up with an answer very quickly. And maybe I probably wouldn't be able to come up with an answer with a complex math problem anyway, so that's not a good example, but I think you know what I mean. I was kind of in this like weird dreamlike state that I was kind of hoping would go away sooner rather than later, because I had things I was doing. If I didn't have anything I was doing at all, if I was pretty much lounging around, listening to music or just whatever, that would have been totally fine. But I had things I was doing, and it was somewhat getting in the way. So this lasted, let's say from 3 p.m. Up until easily 7 p.m. and then started wearing off. So it's over 6 to 7 hours from the time I actually ingested the medicine, which is fairly long. But the thing that I don't understand is why did it take 3 hours before I felt anything come on at all? 3 hours. Normally for me, I can feel something within 30 minutes to 90 minutes, but this was like 3 hours. Come on, people, what's going on here? Now, something I learned from this, and something that I teach, and I absolutely was going against what I teach, and nothing was harmed, but I want you to be very careful when you're if you ever take a bite from a magic mushroom, because something I've taught you before, and I want to reiterate this, and I know it, but I went up against my advice yesterday, is that in a magic mushroom, unless it's ground up, the reason we grind them is to disperse the psilocybin evenly across the entire mushroom or several mushrooms. If you just have one mushroom and you take a little bite off of one particular area, in this case it was the cap, so you take a bite, it's very possible that a good percentage of the psilocybin is localized in that one little area. Because again, remember, I've taught you this before, but the psilocybin is not necessarily evenly dispersed or distributed throughout the mushroom. It could be in little areas. So what I'm thinking is, yesterday when I went ahead and ate this little bite, again, I didn't have a scale, but I'm assuming it was probably no more than 0.2 grams. 200, that would be 200 milligrams. Probably no more than that. Maybe 0.3 at the most, but I don't even think it was that much. However, if a good part of the psilocybin was in that little piece, then I could have had like a large dose of psilocybin. It's very possible I could have had a large dose. Now, again, I wasn't, I could function totally fine. I wasn't, I didn't have any visuals, but I was in, like, I'd say, a fairly serious dream-like state that I think at one point my wife asked me if I'm okay. Oh, I know what it was. I was going to roller skate across the street in the park, and my wife said, "Are you okay? Are you okay to do that?" I said, "Absolutely." And I proceeded to roller skate on mushrooms, which was a nice experience in itself. My main point, and I want to share something else very important with you about how I feel today. Very, very important. But my main point is, these things are unpredictable. If you think you can predict them 100%, in other words, how long it's going to take for onset, how long the duration is going to be, what you're going to feel like, then from my experience, there's no way to predict it 100%. And especially if you take a little nibble off of a mushroom cap, not being ground up and not knowing how much actual psilocybin is in that mushroom cap. Be prepared for blast off. It is possible, so just be aware of all these things. Now, the silver lining out of this whole thing is that it did finally wear off. I felt great last night. My wife and I enjoyed a nice dinner with some TV on Netflix or something like that. And then today, I have this feeling, I guess you could call it like afterglow or whatever, but I have this feeling that I just feel like remarkably great. Totally calm, confident, very aware, my senses feel very like on. So what I did yesterday was absolutely worth it. And it gets back to the original question, is it ever worth it, or should I ever do a little bit of a larger dose? And I'm not talking about a heroic dose or a macro dose. I'm not talking about that right now. I'm talking about just a little larger than a micro. Should you ever do it? And you can answer that question now, because I've told you what happened to me yesterday. I told you how I feel today. So I'll let you answer the question. And whether you want to take a little bit of a larger dose or not, that's up to you, but that's what you can expect if you do. And I'm glad I did. I wasn't expecting that. And like I said, I just took a little nibble thinking that, okay, this is my microdose for the day, but it turned out to be much more than a microdose, I will tell you. So be careful, guys and gals. That's what I wanted to share with you today. I'm just excited that I've got a lot of new people that are viewing my videos on YouTube. It's Microdose U on YouTube, and many of you are listening to the audio version, the audio podcast. It's also called Microdose U. I appreciate you, whether you've been with me for a long time or whether you're brand new to my channel or to my podcast. This couldn't happen with me just talking into a vacuum. I need people on the other end that I'm helping, and even if I help one person, it makes my day. I'm really happy to hear this. So thanks again for being with me. I appreciate you. I'm Dr. Dave. This is not to be taken as medical advice in any way, shape, or form. It's just, I'm relating my experience to you, and you take it from there. Do whatever you like, but it's not medical advice at all. See you next time, or hear you next time if you're listening to audio only. Dr. Dave, Microdose U.